Alright, Lesson 4, Accessory System. Describe the principal vehicle, electrical, accessory system. Give information, construction, operation, wiring system, lighting system, instruments, and gauges. To reference CM9 8000. Learning event. Describe the purpose of construction, automotive wiring in general. All electric power control signal must be delivered to the electric device reliably and safely from the electrical system function not impaired with converted to hazard. This goal is accomplished through careful circuit design, prudent component selection, practical equipment location. List of the component common equipment to use the fulfill power distribution requirements of military vehicles include single conductor cable, multi-conductor cable, bus bars, terminal blocks, terminal connector. Facilitate successful application of such equipment. Guidelines for the design, main power distribution, circuit conductor selection, routing, practice, wiring, cables, assembly requirements, human factors, environmental considerations, circuit protection requirements, certification, identification techniques as disguised in the section include and are generally power distribution consideration necessary for effecting good performance, economic safety, vehicle, electrical system design. Are your wiring harness. Wiring assemblies consist of wires capable of definitely prescribed length of assembled together simply will interconnect all electrical components and or equipment. There are two basic types of wiring assemblies. Wiring harness branch and wiring harness. Your wiring harness cable assembly consists of the stranded conductor with insulation combination, insulated conductors enclosed with the cover and jacket of the end-to-end terminating connection seals around outer jacket of the inner conductors are isolated complete with the environment experienced by the outer jacket. The cables may have two or more ends. Wiring harnesses are assembled with the two or more individual conductors of the laid parallel with the twisted together, wrapped when binding materials such as tape, lace, and cord wiring ties. Binding materials do not isolate the conductor from environmental completely. The conductor termination may or not be sealed. Wiring harness may also have two or more ends. Are the shows full tape binding, space binding tape, space binding sleeve, space binding straps, lace bound binding, high temperature binding. Are your wiring harness binding? Supplement methods enjoy of the binding of the wire windows together. The wiring harness assembly. Each method is intended with the preferred action or application of the vehicle. Tape binding. This binding intended with the vehicle entire wiring applications where the wires are unprotected. Additional measure for the snap protection, abrasion resistance required. Cables are bound together with one half the overlapping term of the tape. The EF9 black mill 1I 5126 demonstrates suitable lower temperature flexibility. -10 degrees Fahrenheit cold bending in a military environment. Space binding. A binding is intended with the vehicle interior of the wiring is protected with the location on junction control blocks. Application cables are bound together. The overlap between the tape and space interval of the tape should be 2 to 2.25 inch wrap length space in 8 to 12 intervals. Space binding. Heat shrink tubing. One alternative from space binding uses sleeve in lieu of tape. Heat shrink modified with neoprene rubber sleeving has been demonstrated suitable low temperature to flexibility of -55 degrees Celsius. In military environment, the cables are bound together with 30 inch to 1.25 inch length. The heat shrinkable sleeving space 8 to 12 intervals. Space binding cable ties. All another alternative space binding method usually of wire ties and straps. Cable straps adjusting self-clinching are suitable for this application. Cables are bound together. Straps are spaced 8 to 12 inches in intervals. Lace binding. Lace is the intent of the wire used in junction control box application. Lace cording is according with a mill T 43-43-5 size 3 type 1 finish B wax colored color optional has performed satisfaction in the military environment. High temperature binding. The binding is method intended with the harness used on an engine, transmission, or other system with additional protection against high temperatures is required. Cables are covered and bound together with insulating sleeving ending junction around cables with one half overlapping turns of tape, and the tape ends must overlap fully. Alright, insulating sleeve of the electrical class 200 type C category C and D has then demonstrated suitable high temperature humidity resistant to the application. And then tape has demonstrated adhesive qualities which withstand steam cleaning, oil, high temperature, environmental associated with vehicle power packs. Alright, your wire harness identification. Wires in electrical system should be identified by the name and the color of the code that's facilitating tracing during assembly, troubleshooting, rewiring, operations identifying should be appeared with the wire schematic diagrams whenever the practically individual wire. The assigned identification for the continuous electrical connection should be retained with the schematic diagram until the circuit characteristics are altered by switching point or active component. The line extension for this system involves the suffix letter wire diagrams, wire assembly to identify the segments of the wire between the terminal connectors contacts. Use of suffix letters is advantage when necessary to identify several individual wires with a common circuit are bound in the same harness. Tank automotive electric circuits have been identified over the years with a unique number of specific CAT circuits based on the premise of the maintenance personnel would become familiar with the wire with numbers of the circuits. This familiarity with the facility, the ability to service the variety of vehicles, furthermore, common standard automotive electrical components in the supply system, such as the headlight, tail light, stop light with a switch assemblies are marked with a standard wire numbers. Therefore, the numbers such should be also be the maximum extent practical identification circuit for the future military vehicle electrical systems. There are several practical methods to apply the wire identification characteristic of the wire assembly. Three commonly employed methods are lettering be hot stamped on a quarter 5/100 of an inch minimum light height directly wire cable insulation using wire light. White letters in dark backgrounds, black letters on light backgrounds. Lettering may be hot stamped at 1/500 of the inch minimum height type. Heat shrinking the sleeve length and diameter is required assembly over the wire insulation. Our letter may be intended embossed in 93,000 of an inch minimum height on the band meter marker blank. MS 39020 style link band is required in military standard 130. Of these metal marking bands is identified embossed characteristics are most durable and remain legible even if paint covered them. Are your wire terminal lugs, the ends. Wire terminal lugs are divided into two major classes, solder type and solderless type, also called pressure and crimp type. The solder type of the cup of the wire is held with the solder permanently, while the solderless type is connected to the wire. Special tools to form the barrel of the terminal exert pressure on the wire, forming a stronger mechanical bond. Electrical ignition. Solderless type terminals gradually have replaced solder type terminals in the military equipment. Figure 31 shows electrical terminals. Rectangular tongue, ring tongue, configure flat type, slotted tongue, insulation grip, conductor clamp, and then shows insulation grip wire, insulation color coded, insulation supporting sleeve, insulation supported sleeve terminal tongue, barrel, and stripped wire. Shows the sleeve outer wall, shrinking inner wall metals well heated with a dip and solder seals, conductor, crimp, and type terminal, solder drop, waste, water seal, cutaway view. Are your solderless terminals? Solderless terminals come with a variety of designs. Some of the most common, the recommended terminal, the ring tongue with the rectangular tongue with the flag tongue with the one with the major source with the treble. The terminal connected with the wire always have the breakage with the wire near its junction with the terminal. Where it fails to have the decrease with adding a sleeve to the basic terminal inside diameter sleeve with a slightly larger than the outside diameter of the wire insulation and crimping operation. The barrel is fastened end of the wire with the insulating support sleeve with a faster round of the insulation. In addition, the support prevents fraying of the insulation on the braid of it's over the wire with a special water seal terminal with a design mill fit mill C1348/6 cable to grip the insulation to prevent water from reaching the conductor. Also provided the terminal should be used whenever the mill C3848/6 interconnecting wire is terminated in the area subject to the bilge, water, road splash, corrosive spills. Water seal. If the terminals are not used in such circumstances, stranded conductor will be absorbed moisture and the rapid corrosion of the individual strands will occur. Are your solder type terminals? Solder type terminals come in most configuration, although they are considered to make the more positive permanent connections. They are not used widely in solderless connectors because different involved insulation with them. Wire connectors. Connectors have involved the facility of the coupling, uncoupling, electrical equipment, replacement of the tip of the connectors used with the military vehicles permit elements of the system to be fabricated so that the individual's assembly with the components to final system configuration built up to maintain more easily. The interconnection generally is accomplished by using the multi-code single conductor cable assembly wire harnessing, which permits the convenient placement of system components of the connector receptacles also attached directly to the individual component of the permanent. Easy to remove the items that are connected to mating parts of the interconnecting cable to circuit boards and relays. A compatible connection system which consists of the plug assembly, mating receptacle assembly, and wires of the cables leading to them. Connector assembly exits the variety of configuration, each of which of the intent of the particular environmental mounting condition. Are your wire receptacles show the cable, the nut, the grommet, the coupling nut, the insert with the shell assembly insert, groove shell, and pin contacts. Then it shows the socket, contact, shell assembly, shell, groove, insert, the grommet, final nut, female receptacle, cable, and then the cable, shell, washer, terminal, washer, shell, cable. Plugs and receptacles available to either pin with a socket type contact. This is either male or female contact placement of one preferred to the other method based on the general rule prescribing the sockets female. Used on the power side of the connection arrangement if it is intended to prevent accidental shorting of the power side of the connection, which can incur personal damage of the equipment. Our connectors designed specifically with a high-low voltage application for the various connective receptacles are available to vehicle usage, classified inline cable, box wall, or bulkhead types. Inline type has no means of supporting itself. Even the cable ends uses on a cable end with the joint of the mating of the element. There's also a cable connected to this inline receptacle permit the interconnection of the power distribution system using 2 or more cable harnesses assembly to facilitate the maintenance. The difference between the box and wall mounted receptacles is related to the environmental protection of the conductor connections. Box mounted style that has exposed to the conductor connection and intent of the mounted on the box component with a sealed thereby by conductor connections with a protection from the environment. Wall mounted receptacles intended to be mounted with exposed unprotected exposure enclosure thereof. The connections to the conductors are sealed. The bulkhead receptacles are used to penetrate a panel while maintaining a seal between the compartments established for the panel. The unique feature of the bulkhead receptacle is that it allows the connection on both sides of the panel to be removed easily, with a significant difference between the box and wall mounted receptacles, which have only one easily removable connection. There is also a variety of connector plug assemblies used on the vehicle's primary physical difference between them and the back shell configuration. Back shell is used direct connecting wire cable either to axially or angles up to 90 degrees for the axis for the connectors, as well as to provide water seal, strain, and lead from the cable or wire. Our requirements: electrical connectors must be capable of withstanding the effect of the military environment, protection against the damage due to the temperature, extreme water, oil, physical abuse, and abuse is mandatory. It's a good practice to provide 1 or more spare contact with the contactor pair more than the actual number required with the circuit into care. The increase of the circuit is necessity. Functions added later will not require you than another connector. It's advisable to keep the number of the contactors per connector down to the number that can be made separated without excessive force. When a large number of circuits must be handled, it may be advisable to give more than 1 circuit connector pair. Every effort should be made to choose the connectors that will allow the single power leads to be bundled separately. The current to be passed through each of the contact beats determine the contact size that can be self-satisfactory with the factor sufficient to provide safe operation under conditions of temporary overload. Another important safety factor is mechanical strength. In many applications, size 12 contacts used even in the current may be less than 100 milliamperes because the mechanical strength of the size 12 contact is needed. Great care should be exercised selection of connectors to make certain that they will meet the mechanical strains placed on their application. Vehicle connector housings are used for the personal steps of, if they happen to have the right location. It is not uncommon to see military equipment lifted and carried by 1 or more of these connectors, even though the connectors are thin housing and are not intended for these purposes. Selected connector must be by means to prevent incorrect mating built into it. They may be effective to similar sized guide pins. Non-symmetrical arrangement of contact barriers or design of the connector shell housing connector contact pins should never be used for alignment and polarization. Alright, Lesson 4, Learning Event 2. Learning Event 2, describe the principle, operation, construction, automotive lighting system. The history of the motor vehicle lighting parasol, the history of lighting home buildings, while oil lamp, gas lighting have been used in earlier motor vehicles. With the development of the satisfactory electrical system, electrical lighting has become standard medium of the lighting motor vehicles. Lighting systems found on the modern motor vehicles consist of 2 headlights for illuminating the road ahead of the vehicle, 2 parking lights for side lights for indicating location of the vehicle, 1 park, 2 tail lights for the rear light, license plate, and show the red light to the rear. Instrument panel lights to illuminate the instrument. Body lights such as the dome, step lights, and light the interior of the vehicle. Special lights, spotlight, signal lights, blackout lights, stop, backing lights, wire control switches to connect these lights and lamps into the current sources. Alright, lamps. The description: small gas filled within distant lamp with the tungsten filaments used on the motor vehicle. The filaments supply light with a sufficient current flowing through them. The lamps are designed to operate at low voltages such as 6, 12, and 24 volts. Construction: most lamps are provided with a single contact with each filament within the lamp. The current through each of the filament has been completed with the shell of the lamp base. A filament lamp with a single contact construction has 2 contacts with the lamp base, each being connected with one of the other filaments. The return with the both filaments for the lamp base shell, which is grounded through the lamp socket. There are 2 separate circuits for the 2 contacts of the base, and each of the light will properly be termed single contact ground circuit. Because voltage is used, the automotive electrical system is low. Current required resulting high filaments, shorter, long, stronger than those of the standard housing lighting lamps, short and thicker rather than long and thin filament with the same roughened treatment. This is a desirable case of the lamp. Subject to the vibration of the motor vehicle. A short filament also provide a concentrated light source will give better focus. Your size: lamp range inside with a small 1/2 candle power instrument panels lamps to the largest 50 or more candle power driving lamps. are your current requirements. 2 candle power lamps consist of 0.21 amps at 12 volts and 4 candle power lamps of the 0.22 amps at 12 volts. A lamp with 2 filaments at 31 of 32 candle power. The other 21 candle power will draw from 1.3 and 1.8 amperes to 1. The reason for the rapid discharge of the storage battery in the winter is to increase the number of hours of the lamps or the directive of the relation between the total current used and the number of lamps used. All storage batteries are rated by amperes. However, this number of the hours of the battery can be used with a certain discharge amperage before it becomes depleted. For instance, 2 headlight lamps burning at 4 amperes each on the total 8 amperes would discharge the storage battery rated at 80 amperes hours in approximately 10 hours unless the generator charged the battery. Alright, light beams. Use of reflector. Lamp bulb. The use of the amount of reflector associated with the lamp is gathered with the directive of the combined beam. The best light beam for the lamp is obtained with the use of a parabolic ball-shaped reflector, which is the type that is generally used for the focal point near the rear of the parabolic reflector, which the light rays from the lamp are picked up and polished surface of the reflector directed in the parallel lines to give the beam a circular cross-section. Any other position of the lamp will not give as limited a beam, but will tend to scatter the light. Using a prismatic lens, a light beam is distributed over the road by means of the prismatic lens. The prismatic lens is fitted with a parabolic reflector. The lens bends with the parallel rays of the reflector so that the light is distributed over the lobe. The vertical flute of the lens spread for the light rays so that the beam is flattened and the edge is thrown outward to the side of the highway. Combinations of beams. Many combination of light beams are possible. Combination commonly used when the beam is with the rear right headlight is projected high at the right side of the road, low to the left side of the beam is left high. Headlight is projected high to the left side of the road, low to the right side. Some portion of the beam are deflected lower than other portion because of the design of the lens. When the right and left lens beams are not the same, the lens of the right and left headlights are not interchangeable. The beams combined will give nearly symmetrical bearing for driving. This some headlights are left light illuminates right side of the road, while the right light illuminates the left side of the road. Both lights together give a symmetrical beam. Headlights. Older headlights focus direct the light, and focus means by bringing the lamp filament to a focal point on the reflector, aiming the means of pointing directing the light properly. No, I'm alright. Yeah. Newer headlights use 2 filament lamp with having the position fixed with respect to the mounting socket with the rear of the reflector so the filaments remain fixed with the proper focus. It's necessary only to direct the light to improve the lighting of the roadway. Most common headlight configuration modern automotive use the shield beam. The shield beam headlight of this unit only provides far better, more powerful illumination previous to the lamp that maintains initial brilliancy while only slight loss through its life that becomes less and is permanently sealed within the reflector, bearing moisture which corrodes the reflector prevents the entrance of the dust and dirt. When the filament burns out, the whole unit must be replaced. However, the greater the filament life of the other type of the lamps requires no maintenance to keep it in good condition. Sealed beam headlamp unit made in two types. One of the silver plate of metal reflector, the other is aluminum surface glass reflector. Metal type contains conventional double filament lamp sealed with a unit the mechanically, whereas the gas type is own lamp that becomes the lens and reflector fused together, forming a gas-tight unit with the filaments sealed within the reflector. 2 filaments are provided with a shield beam headlight lamp. The unit one provides the upper beam with the cover on country driving. The other gives the downward beam for passing and city driving. With the upper beam, they use currently sealed beam lamp using 50% more or less than 32 candle power lamps. Also, the distributed light more effectively. Upper beam LED filament requires 40 to 45 watts. The depressed beam filament requires 30 to 35 watts, which is currently required at 32 candle power lamps. Directing headlight to the roadway is only adjusting required sealed beam headlights. Sealed beam headlight is mounted with self-locking screws and springs. Screws are served to aim at headlights depending on their position. Our road illumination. Modern development has brought the radical change with the conserve the good road illumination. High intensity beam in the light, given them with the principle more illumination. Lower general intensity with the 32 candle light lamp is sufficient with a narrow high intensity beam, but in general with flood lighting effect with the desired today. A large light with a source is necessary. Shield beam headlight is developed to meet the requirements of the increased use of the high powered lamps. Have the comes law enforcing the proper focusing of the lights. The use of the dual beam headlights. The dual beam headlights is designed so that one filament will be at a focal point of the reflector, the other filament will be out of focus slightly, so the rays will be turned downward. Pressing the beam is accomplished by switching the change of the current of the one filament to the other. Alright, eliminating of the glare. Cause of glare. Any light source stated to be produce the glare is reduce the clarity of the vision of anyone looking toward there. Practically speaking, with the blinding of the dazing effect of the light is not due to the brilliance of the light, but the lack of illumination of the immediate vicinity through which the rays are projected. If light, for example, produces glare of the dark road, the night would be not produce a glare on a well-lighted street. In the daytime, while the sun is shining, they would be hardly be noticed. If the strong light rays can be kept below eye level, the noise nuisance of the glare will be eliminated. Alright. Elimination. Many tests have been conducted with the Society of Automotive Engineers by manufacturers to eliminate headlight glare as possible to still have enough light for the safe drive. Two beams are specified to meet the requirements. Upper beam had provide enough light for the front of the vehicle while the driving. Thrust beam to avoid dangerous glare for the normal conditions. Passing for the driving is responsible for selecting the proper beam. Maximum minimum intensity important points of the both beams differently specified can be checked with a light intensity or foot candle meter. Headlamp control system. Two headlight controllers usually are provided with one turn of them on, off the other, just likely between the upper and depressed beams. The control switch is usually a master type of control headlight tail parking instrument lights. On one type of the headlight switch is pull type with the mounts on the instrument panel. While the switch is pulled in and pulled out, it will have two on positions. These first on position turn the head tail lights and the parking lights on. Pull the switch out to the second position. You will turn on the headlights and adding the lights turn on in the first position. This type of switch is also a built-in control rheostat with the control of the intensity of the instrument lamp. The rheostat is controlled by turning the knob. This shows a blackout headlight lamp switch. Or your military vehicles have used the tactical situation equipped with the headlight switch that is integrated with the blackout lighting switch, and the important feature of the switch is to reduce the possibility of accidental turning on the lights in a blackout. When the main switch is off and no lights are on, it can be turned to the left and without operating mechanical switch to get blackout marking lights, including blackout tail lights, stop lights, and blackout driving lights. To stop the lights for the daylight driving, the normal bright light for the ordinary night driving, you must first lift the mechanical switch lever, then turn back the switch lever to the right. Auxiliary switch go over the panel lights with the main switch with any of the on position. Give the parking lights on with the main switch to serve the drive with the extreme right. With the main switch is off, the auxiliary switch could not be moved from the off position. Your dimmer switch. The dimmer switch is used for control solely with a selection of headlight beam, but the headlamp is a switch for the position which could be easily located by the driver without diverting attention from the vehicle operation. One of the most common locations for the dimmer switch is the floor left of all the side control pedal. Switch configuration usually a single metallic button with alternately select the between headlamp beams each time it is depressed. Currently, the most popular dimmer switch configuration is integrated within the turn signal lever. The operator selects the desired headlamp switch, moving the lever towards in front and the rear. If the dimmer switch configuration is the headlamp switch that is also integrated with the turn signal lever, the two switches of the turn signal switch usually are served as one unit. Overload breakers. Besides limiting of the current for the current regulation, battery wiring should be protected against excessive loads might occur due to shortage. Grounds and wiring shift for this protection should be secured with the current limiting circuit breaker on the single fuse. Alright, the circuit breaker is protected with the device designed to open the circuit with except for the current passing through the windings. All current with the lights accessory passing through the circuit breaker with a similar construction to the cutout button opens the circuit rather than close to the ground. Other trouble in the circuit with the rush current will start the circuit breaker vibrating in this way to indicate that there's something wrong with the system. The device breaks the current at about 25 amperes but opens after opening is only about 5 amperes to pass. Through which keep the vibrating. The circuit breaker will protect the battery from the rapid discharge of the trouble develops. The circuit breaker will continue to vibrate until the trouble is found and corrected. All types of circuit breakers are short circuit and must be removed before the breaker can be reset. The short circuit can be located easily disconnected each circuit separately until the circuit breaker stops vibrating. Some automatic breakers do not vibrate, although, and have telltale light placed across the contacts. Light generally placed below the visible of the operator, protected by resistance. Circuit breaker contacts opened by excessive current. The light passes down the generally sufficient current flowing with the relay coil with lamp and series of the hold the contact arm of the circuit breaker down until the short is removed. After removing the short, it may be necessary for the turn off all the lights and instant permit relay to reset itself and extinguish the telltale light. R34 demonstrates a fuse operation, current in, current out. Normal, current in, overload, protection fuse melts, and open circuit current flow for the interrupted. Alright, your fuse. The common method of protection of the fuse lighting circuit wherever there is an except for the current of the lighting circuit will burn open, and the circuit of the short of the circuit must should be removed before the fuse is replaced. The disadvantage of the fuse are circuit must be traced to locate the trouble to burn out with the fuse must be replaced. However, this provides much cheaper protection to the system. Blackout lighting. Purpose. Blackout lighting is a requirement of certain combat operation. Purpose of the blackout lighting is to provide a vehicle operated with a sufficient light to operate the vehicle in total darkness. Another is to provide minimum light to show the vehicle position of the leading trailing vehicle where illumination must be restricted to level and not visible to the distant enemy. Configuration. Blackout driving light provides white light at 25 to 50 candle power to distance of 10 feet directly in front of the lamp. The lamp is shielded at the top of the light beam directly not to less than 2 degrees below the horizon. Beam distribution on level of the road is 100 feet from the lamp and 30 feet wide. A properly designed light. Alright, your blackout stoplight marker light with a tail light design with a visible with a horizontal distance 800 feet, not visible beyond 1200 feet. Light is also mostly invisible air above the 400 feet of the vehicle. Upgrade with a downgrade of 20% of the horizontal beam cut off of the lights with a 60 degree to the right and left of the beam center line of the 100 feet of the composite light with is currently standard light with a unit with the rear of the tactical military vehicle. Composite lights combine serve the top of the tail and turn signals without blackout and stoplight and tailing light. Control lockouts. Blackout light control switches are designed to prevent servicing lighting from being turned on and accidentally. Infrared lighting. Infrared lighting provides vision of the troops at night like blackout lighting. Unlike blackout lighting, however, the infrared light is undetectable to the human eye. There are two basic types of the infrared lighting system, the active system and the passive system. Alright, the active system uses the light source combined with the red lens to emit light in the near infrared range. The emitted light is reflected back to the illuminated object focused on the image converter tube. The tube converts the image formed in one wavelength. The radiation of the image and visible wavelength for viewing the tube that contains both sensor and displaying within the unit. Infrared lighting system is employed with the present tank of automotive vehicles of this type. The active system has the disadvantage of being detectable by the enemy equipped with infrared detectors operating in the same range. For this reason, the active system equipped is expected to phase out, but completely replaced by the passive system. Passive system cannot be detected disabled by methods effective against active system. Furthermore, natural objects radiate with the infrared range, making passive systems very attractive. There are basically two types of passive system: light intensity and far infrared. Your light-intensive occasion system are expected to eventually replace the present and active the infrared system. Think automotive application light-intensive system. The images formed by ambient light with the starlight, moonlight with intensive by image converter type tubes. The image converter tubes have the high defective photocathode sensitive visible near infrared region. The light intensive of the system is characterized usually relatively small size with a less compact active system because of elimination transmitting hardware. The major disadvantage of the system is that looking normal view range and performance depending on atmospheric conditions. Far infrared systems operate and light wavelengths to operate with the far end infrared spectrum wavelengths of the region transmitted fairly well to the atmosphere, except within extreme humidity and rain. These systems natural radiation given the objects that provide power switch which detects the object system of this type have been highly sensitive and can detect even the shadows left by an object removed from the surroundings. These systems are receiving much attention in target location systems. The disadvantage of this system is the large size of the equipment compared to light-intensive system. Alright, learning event 3. Describe the purpose, operation, electrical, automotive accessories, instrument panel. Alright. And I'm going to cut the tape there, and we'll come back for lesson 3.